Look how annoying that is.
I agree, and we need to stand up against people like Alexandra who play the French constantly, popularizing it, getting more people into it. I can say I laid down my sword a long time ago, championing the French, and I will say it's something that kind of the higher rated players look down on a little bit, always making the butt end of the joke. Oh, the French is no good, but honestly, at the club level in chess. I think the French is a super dangerous opening because it's all about allowing your opponent to take a lot of space in the center, maybe overextend, and then just relentless attacks against that center. And I think anyone who plays the white side against the French can relate to their entire center just collapsing.
Like I said,
Yeah,
it's
and
annoying.
I love hearing that. That warms my heart as a French player. Nothing gives me more joy than sparking annoyance in the heart of my opponents. But of course, the French also does have some challenges to play against. We always talk about the bad French bishop. If you look at the bishop at c8, he's completely blockaded by his own pawns. And it's even
Mhm.
more tricky in these lines when you have your queen on b6, because otherwise you can sometimes push a5 or push the b pawn and trade your bishop on a6, but you can't do it in this variation.
I feel like Voyboy knows what he's doing against it, so I think he's doing a nice job.
Yeah, honestly, one of the best things to do if you're kind of feeling unsure about a certain opening is just watching someone else play it confidently and just copying their setup. This looks like a really solid way to play with white. My recommendation would probably be to take that light squared bishop and improve it just one more square forward, would hit the knight, be aimed directly at the black king, and definitely this is a position that Voyboy should play quite aggressively because you've got everything pointed at the black king and you've got black's queen on the other side of the board away from the defensive responsibilities. So let's see if Voyboy goes for an attack. That would be my top suggestion here. And G4 looks like looks like he agrees.
Yeah, g4 looks crazy because you're pushing your kingside pawns, and it is actually creating a weakness long term if black survives the attack. But at least in the short term, yeah, you have bishop d3, knight g5 coming in, looking towards the pawn. And the reason why it's important is because the knight on f5 was doing a really good blockade against the attack.
Yeah, I like this a lot. I think this is the right idea, but the one thing missing is this diagonal. I think bishop d3 would have been good. Queen c2 is fine, and the idea, I believe, is knight g5 with the best possible threat to make in chess. Checkmate in one.
Rain, how would you continue here as black?
No, I think Aman just pointed it out perfectly that that white diagonal is a great modus of attack, and the knight can get a lot of damage done. Um, but you know, the C1 bishop, the black bishop, is a little also stifled. Just wondering what you think about. Do you just leave it there on that first rank?
Yeah, it's actually a really great question because the answer is honestly maybe yes. You can develop that bishop to e3 to f4, and all those moves would be great, but there
Now,
may be
would you
more
ever
important
start,
pieces.
sorry to interrupt? Would you ever sacrifice right here? Maybe in speed, in a faster speed chess.
Would I
Take
ever?
take that H
Definitely.
take that H6 pawn with the bishop.
Uh, I definitely would do it, but if I did it against you, you would probably be a very low-rated player because that move does not look very good right now. But I like where your head is at, and I would just involve a few more pieces before I felt confident in that move. So, like the
Gotcha.
bishop moving up, and maybe even involving one of the rooks if I can.
Yeah,
But I like the sacrifice idea. I really do.
get a rook on
And
G1.
a
Hmm.
rook on g1 would look nice. And what part of what h6 is doing, it's a really natural move. You don't want to let the knight come to g5. And it's not a problem right away, but it does create a hinge on black's kingside pawn structure. At some point, if you push g5, black can't just sit there anymore. He's going to have to need to react to it. He does have h5, which would block up the position, so it's not great right now. But if you had something like h4, h5, not saying that's accurate, but then g5 would force black to open up the kingside pawns.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Alex. G5 allows H5, so I'm actually a big fan of your suggestion. I'm equally a big fan of what Voivoy is doing for two reasons. First of all, G5 now cannot be met with H5, and the knight also covers the F5 square. But also, pawn to F4 and pawn to F5 is another way to continue to involve more pieces. This is a way of involving the rook without moving the rook. Instead of moving the rook to an open file or one that could be open, you just say, well, I'll leave the rook where it is and play F4, F5 and open the F file for it.
Yeah, as a French player, these are the kinds of positions that are really scary to play against. Whenever you really have to defend, it's kind of terrifying. Rain, I know you said you don't like playing the French. It's annoying, but whose side would you prefer to play with here?
Well, I think Voy Boy, sometimes I call him Soy Boy, um, is in a way better position. He played it masterfully. I want to kind of go back and study this game and see exactly what he did. I don't know. Was there something Sonic Fox missed? Because I feel like there just was a little less pressure, you know, on that queen side. Ooh,
So Sonic has set
whoa.
up a beautiful idea with this last move that Voivoy has missed, which is knight takes on d4, utilizing the pin. But also to answer your question, Rain, bishop out to b4 and just voluntarily trading is what has created that strong pawn structure. So that was what Sonic did, which was no good, which is why we ended up here.
But he
Good to
did
know.
find this trap. So now
Hmm.
he's actually going to be a pawn up. And even though the engine likes Sonic's position a lot more, I'm actually not sure about it because it is going to be really difficult still to deal with the attack against his king.
Yep, I agree. If I put a variation on the board, like the queen moves out of the way, the knight captures on e2, um, and we look at this open file, I could see a lot of the ideas that Rain was highlighting, like sacrificing on h6. All of a sudden, you move the king to the corner, you bring the rook over one square to the g file. This could result in a really quick checkmate. So be on the lookout here and don't believe everything the engine is telling you right now.
Yeah, I love being an engine Andy, just taking a quick look, but it is never that accurate. I remember when I would play chess as a kid, my dad would be looking over it with an engine. He'd be like, "How did you miss this and this and that?" I'm like, "Dad, you don't even see that without an engine. What are we doing here?"
Yeah, and the engine has come a long way since even the last 5 years, let alone the last 20. Now you're talking about the depth that the engine can see. It's producing these crazy ideas that humans could never.
Right. Rain, do you ever use an engine to analyze your games?
I don't. I'm not good enough to do that. I wouldn't. It's humiliating for me. Actually, I go back on that little chess.com thing that they have where you can kind of go back and it gives you all the question marks and exclamation points and stuff like that and kind of replay it in my head in a real loose way. Wow, they
Aw,
yeah, that was I saw that. I'm surprised that he took that oh, I guess he is threatening that the rook there
Yeah, this is
on the
again
A
some
file.
engine stuff because pawn takes on h6 is the move that the computer is actually screaming for, meaning that that blue arrow that just showed up means if you don't take on h6, Sonic Fox is going to be right back in this game. But it's a really hard move to play. Like, how on earth are you just going to lose your rook in the corner to capture a pawn? Like, that seems totally crazy. So, this is kind of back to our discussion about how powerful the engine is nowadays. Pawn takes pawn, and who cares about that rook, says the computer.
wow. Okay, well, that would be definitely a crazy find. Probably the more natural moves are just things like bishop d2, attack the queen, defend the rook, or bishop b2, which he does play.
Hmm.
I
Yeah, and
like that bishop d2 stayed defending the g pawn and still putting pressure on h6.
correct. Yeah. I think if the queen slides all the way over to h3, That would be pretty nice attacking the knight, but this is an equally good move. Attacking the queen and long range across the chessboard, attacking the knight as well in a desperate attempt to get a trade because Sonic Fox is realizing they're up 1, 2 pawns here, and a queen trade just puts you in a great endgame position. So Voivoy makes the right call and does not entertain that queen trade at all.
Yep, queen h5 was the only option to not trade and defend the knight, and it also puts pressure on h6. So this is a really nice multifaceted move, which, as Amon pointed out earlier, is the kind of moves you want to keep an eye for. You want your moves to have as many purposes as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're getting close to an attack here. I would not want to defend this, me personally. I'm just going to put it out there. This is a position the engine is saying, oh, yeah, we're up pawns. This is great. Thank you very much. But I'm over here thinking, white's position looks pretty fun to play.
Yeah, and Black's white bishop is just stuck back there, not helping at all.
Exactly. And the rook, as a result of that light bishop, is in the corner, also not participating. So it's like, there's like, what, 8 points of material just not involved in the game at all.
Yeah,
Now, what about the knight
Rainn,
to f5 at this point?
Yeah, knight f5, I imagine, is going to force Voivoy to capture. And then if the pawn captures back, I guess you continue with pawn captures on h6. So I'm a little bit nervous about allowing the position to open there and doubling the pawns, but you would be able to trade the knights and probably the queens after. So I think it would probably reduce your advantage, but it might trade the queens off. So from a safety
Ooh,
perspective,
what about
I think
knight to
it's good.
g6?
Probably better. Probably a
Better,
little bit
right?
better. Yeah,
Right,
a little bit
Alex?
better.
yeah, no, I
This is
like it. The
a
more
great one.
enthusiasm, the more accurate it is.
Yeah. If you just said knight f5 with the same level of enthusiasm, I would
You
have
would have been
agreed.
into it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got
I'm
into it.
curious, Rain, do you have any ideas for things you think would make PogChamps even more entertaining?
Besides nudity,
Yeah, we've already got that
um,
suggestion.
Yeah,
uh,
it's up there.
not from the women. I'm not being sexist. There's a lot of grandmasters with some really sweet bods.
It did work for Magnus and Fabi.
That's right.
Oh, we got some action going on here. What's happening? Got a trade.
Surely nothing more exciting than this conversation.
Oh, we could do pool champs. You know, back when hot tub streams were really popular, people have to stream from
Yeah.
that.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
What if there was someone like right behind Sonic Fox and Voivoy right now with like squirt guns and like eggs and
Every
like
time you make
whoopee
a mistake,
cushions? Or you just constantly distracting them, like you start, trimming their hair or, I don't know.
I love that we already stress out casual chess players. I think if we stress them out even more, that could be the answer.
Can you
Definitely a
picture
way to do it.
a tarantula climbing up Sonic Fox's shoulder right now? Would be amazing.
I did blindfold my sister and make her hold a tarantula before, so I'm 100% down for those ideas.
You're in?
Yes,
Hey, listen, guys, I got to
always.
go, but it's always a pleasure to swing by. Alex, I adore you. Aman, thank you. And thanks for the 44 people who have donated to Lide Haiti. Thank you for your generosity. And thank you for considering supporting education to some folks who really, really need it and could benefit. So every dollar goes a very long way with Lide. We want to make a difference this holiday season. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
Rain.
Rain. Wonderful having you.